Hey, how you guys doing? Hey, welcome back to another episode of Soulja Talk the podcast. I'm your host, Staff Sergeant McPherson, and on this show we discuss military topics with current and prior service members. Okay, so today, you guys, we're gonna be talking about how NCOs are the backbone of the Army, right? Uh, we're gonna be talking about uh how NCOs are the backbone of the Army and different roles that they play while being the backbone of the Army. You guys stay tuned to this video. Okay, so like I was saying, right, NCOs are the backbone of the Army. You know that NCOs are basically responsible for most of the execution that goes on, right? So before we get into it, I really just want to break down the NCO creed. So that's the first thing I want to do is break down the NCO creed, right? And we're gonna go over the NCO creed, and I'm gonna let you guys know what what sentences stand out to me uh in each paragraph and what's the most important part to me in each paragraph. Okay, NCO Creed. No one is more professional than I. I'm a non-commissioned officer, a leader of soldiers. As a non-commissioned officer, I realize that I'm a member of a time on the Corps, which is known as the backbone of the Army. I am proud of the Corps of non-commissioned officers and will all times conduct myself so as to bring credit upon the Corps, the military service, and my country, regardless of the situation in which I find myself. I would not use my grade or position to attain pleasure, profit, or personal safety. So that's the first paragraph of the NCO Creed, right? So the first paragraph of the NCO Creed, the thing that stands out the most to me would be the first sentence. No one is more professional than I. So what I mean by that is uh it's gonna be times as an NCO that you have to maintain your professionalism. And that's the main thing. I feel like when it comes to professionalism, NCOs get tested the most when it comes to that. So in the NCO Creed, no one is more professional. Now you should always keep that in mind. Uh it's gonna be time where your patience is tested when it comes to officers, your superiors, or your soldiers. But you have to maintain that professionalism. So that's why I say that sentence right there is probably the most important to me of the NCO Creed. Okay, the second paragraph, competence is my watchword. My two basic responsibilities will always be uppermost in my mind: accomplishment of my mission and the welfare of my soldiers. I will strive to remain technically and technically proficient. I'm aware of my role as a non-commissioned officer. I will fulfill my responsibilities inherent in that role. All soldiers are entitled to outstanding leadership. I will provide that leadership. I know my soldiers and I will always place their needs above my own. I will communicate consistently with my soldiers and never leave them uninformed. I will be fair and impartial in recommending both rewards and punishment. So that's the second paragraph of the NCO Creed. So what I take, the part that I take from that is where it says I will strive to remain technically and tactically proficient. So what I mean by that is you will strive to remain technically and technically proficient. So you want to basically be the SME of your MOS as an NCO. You need people expect you to know your job. You know, when it comes to being technically proficient. Uh it's not a good look when I come up to an NCO, just depends on whatever they do or in their field. Say, just for example, you a 6 to 8 whiskey, and I come to and you're an NCO, and I come to you and ask you a basic thing on how to just basically anything, how to apply a tourniquet, how just anything, and you don't know the certain steps. That's, you know what I mean. you don't want that to happen. You don't want people to lose. You don't want to lose that credibility as an NCO. You want to be technically proficient. And when I say tactically proficient, is basically breaking down what I was talking about in the first paragraph, right? Tactically proficient, where you want to be tactical, knowing when, where, and how to do things. Uh, and that's the sentence that stands out to me the most in the second paragraph of the NCO Creed. So the last paragraphs: officers of my unit will have the maximum time to accomplish their duties. They will not have to accomplish mine. I will earn their respect and confidence as well as that of my soldiers. I will be loyal to those with whom I serve, seniors, peers, and subordinates alike. I will exercise initiative by taking appropriate action in the absence of orders. I will not compromise my integrity nor my moral courage. I will not forget, nor will I allow my comrades to forget that we are professionals, non-commissioned officers, leaders. So that last paragraph, it's a lot going on in that last paragraph. That last paragraph, you can take a lot from it. First thing I want to get at is officers of my unit will have maximum time to accomplish their duty. So that's the last thing you want. You don't if your superior, anybody give you, basically, I want to say your commander or the XO, whoever, give you something to do, you want to make sure you get knocked out. You know what I mean? Because they have stuff to do themselves. You know, you don't want people, you know, getting into, you don't want people doing your job. You don't want them to have to do your job for you. That's what I'm saying. So you want to knock that out. You know what I mean? So and he's saying they would not have to accomplish mine. So it's another part in this third paragraph on the breakdown. Say I will exercise initiative by taking appropriate action in the absence of orders. So of course you want to don't always look for your superiors or anybody else to give you orders to do something. So you want to take initiative and get it done. So I had to learn that, you know what I mean? But it's you have people in this certain leadership that will do that on purpose. So yeah, they'll put you in them positions on purpose to see if you're gonna take the initiative and do it. But they have to also, yeah, that's something you have to learn too. Like, because as a young soldier, I wasn't, you know, I used to just always uh look for people to kind of lay it out for me. But as I grew up and I've been under certain leadership, it teaches you how to just take that initiative. If they show you something and they're not there the next day or the day after that, just take initiative and knock out that task or whatever you have to do. So that was the NCO Creed, you guys. I broke down each part on which one, what sentence and what stands out to me the most as far as each paragraph. Okay, so now that we break down the NCO Creed, right, you guys. So I want to talk about the different roles as to why NCOs are the backbone of the Army. So you guys know that we are basically the first line supervisors to soldiers. More than likely, we deal with soldiers on a day-to-day basis. And it's different things that we have to get done to make sure those soldiers are trained, and just making sure that those soldiers are basically uh technically and tactically proficient. Uh so one of them things as an NCO, right, is the authority you have. So you do have authority as an NCO. Don't think you have you don't have any authority as NCO. I don't care if you're an E5. I don't care if you're an E5. E5's all the way up. It's a certain authority that we have as NCOs. So, and you don't want to abuse that authority. And that's also in NCO creed. You don't want to abuse that authority. And it's certain things you should do by regulation to enforce or, enforce that authority that you have. You know what I mean? You don't want, and it's always good to have, I want to say, it's always good to have, it's always good for your leadership to back you up as an NCO. Because I know some certain environments can be to where it's a lot of jumping the chain of command. You might have, certain relationships allow people to jump the chain of command, which is not right. So we're gonna get into the authority that an NCO has, coming straight from Sergeant Major of the Army. We're gonna get into that, and I just want you guys to check this video out from the Sergeant Major of the Army as he breaks it down for the authority that for NCO authority, right? And we're gonna get into that.
A lot of pride in how we looked at ourselves and our uniforms and everything that we did. And as we
Hold on, guys, I'm gonna restart it.
Hello, and welcome to SMA Talks, a monthly series where Sergeant Major of the Army, Michael Grinston, discusses important topics that directly impact the day-to-day business of the U.S. Army. This month, our topic is NCO authority. Throughout the U.S. Army's history, officers have empowered NCOs to take action and enforce standards. But what does that mean in 2020? Sergeant Major, thank you so much for being here.
thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this series and this topic. It's really important for Army. So thank you for having me here today.
And SMA, how has NCO authority changed since you've been in the Army?
Well, I don't think the policy, it doesn't feel like the policy has had a lot of changes since I've been in the Army. Although I've been in the Army for a long time, about 33 years now. It just feels, when you look at the policy, it feels like all this policy really has changed, but it really didn't. Some of it was there, and at some point it got a little bit harder to find. But that's why we're trying to bring some of that policy back forward. NCOs were very aggressive when I came in the military. They really took a lot of pride in it, and we were just growing as an NCO Corps. I came in about 10, 12 years after the end of the Vietnam War. So we had this rebuilding of the NCO Corps. It wasn't that the NCOs were bad at Vietnam. They're actually very good, but a lot of them were killed in combat. So 12 years later, we had to rebuild that NCO Corps, and we took a lot of pride in how we looked at ourselves and our uniforms and everything that we did. And as we rebuilt the Corps for that in the early 90s, we were adamant that no one was more professional than I. And we were pretty aggressive. And I think maybe at some point we may have been a little extra aggressive. And then I think the pendulum at some point kind of swung over this way. And then what we're trying to do now is kind of bring that pendulum back, not to be hazing and bullying, but we still need to be able to have the ability to take action. And I think that's what's happened over the last few years.
And how does the recent update to AR 600-20, what does that mean to NCOs and their commanders as trying to get back to that middle point?
what does it mean, for commanders is we really wanted to put in something that allows an NCO to take an action. And what most people would read in there, they see, well, I can use some physical training for corrective action, but it's more important that we just allow our NCOs to take a visible action. So it's okay to do a small, minor push-ups for a corrective training so that our NCOs learn on a daily basis it's okay for them to take an action. And that's what it means for the commanders is empower your NCOs and give them those authorities that they can take some action and they don't have to always go to the commander or the first sergeant to do something.
Can you elaborate a little bit, Sergeant Major, on the difference between hazing and corrective training?
Most of the time, as I look back in my career, I clearly remember when I was hazed. It was usually pretty obvious to me and normally to everybody around. So corrective training is built to actually correct the training or to do a minor attention getter. And that's why the push-ups are important. Let's get your attention. But if I'm leaving you down there for 2 hours, or I tell you to grab a pole, hang on it upside down for about an hour or 30 minutes, that's probably going over the point, you're doing some hazing. I just want to get your attention and then so that you understand and we're going to correct the action. And that's what's the difference.
Sergeant Major, I've heard you talk about an example you use traveling across the U.S. about NCO authority. Can you share that with our viewers?
Okay, sure. But let's role play. Let's see if you get it right. Okay, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So you're a squad leader, and you can ask questions, and I'm a soldier, and I come running up, and I'm 10 seconds late. What do you do?
At first, I'd give you a verbal counseling.
But you got to talk to me. You got to say, what are you going to do?
What are you doing? Why are you 10 minutes? Why are you 10 seconds late?
Overslept.
How did you oversleep?
My alarm didn't go off.
What? You don't have a backup alarm?
Yeah, that didn't go off either.
Your roommate didn't wake you up?
No, that's why I'm late.
So we're going to have to fix this. So from now on, I need you here at least 15 minutes prior to formation. You can't be late again.
Okay. So let's change one variable about this situation. One variable, okay? You're the drill sergeant, and I'm the private, and I come running up, and I'm 10 seconds late. What would you do?
Start pushing.
You tell me to do push-ups. Yeah, why is that different? And that's the analogy and the story that I use is that it shouldn't be different. It should be one standard. That's what we teach our soldiers when they come in the Army. That's what we expect our NCOs to do. We actually say, drill sergeants, that's the perfect example of what an NCO should be. So that's the analogy that I've asked for years now. And I said, why is it so different? Why does it feel like there's a different authority for the drill sergeants than it is for the other NCOs? And that's what I'm trying to get after. I'm trying to see that NCOs can take charge, they can be role models, and it's okay to take a visible action. Because if we don't take some visible action and we don't teach our NCOs on how to do this on a daily basis, how can we expect our NCOs to get it right when it's really hard, when it's really bad? And the second part of that scenario usually goes, if you're on the CQ desk and a soldier comes in, there's a male and a female, and both of them are drunk and they're walking back to the room. Are you going to feel comfortable taking action in that scenario? You should be. We want you to stop it, but we haven't given you any chance to practice that because, we didn't have the authority, or you didn't feel like you had the authority. You may actually have to physically take some action in that second scenario. So I think we have to give you the small ways to learn how to do that on a daily basis. And something as simple as saying, do 10 push-ups, get you in the habit. It's about taking an action so that when you get to the harder ones, the more difficult situation, you've practiced it over and over on the simple things, you're comfortable with it. And then when something we really need you to physically jump in and stop that, what could be a sexual assault or a sexual harassment, you're comfortable doing it. And we taught you how to do it.
So taking those visible actions, as you put it, is about building that experience and building that confidence to be able to step in when you need to. Sergeant Major?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I haven't said in that other scenario is hopefully there's a platoon sergeant behind you backing you up and making
Exactly.
sure that you don't go to hazing or bullying or saying, okay, you did the right thing. And then if you didn't, they'll pull you off and coach you into those things. So there's so much more to that little simple scenario, but there's a lot more to it. And that's what I really need the NCOs to do, is to take some action.
Well, speaking of having a platoon sergeant having your back, how can Chain of Command and the NCO support channel help boost those junior NCOs into enforcing standards?
I think it starts with leader development. And I'll give you 2 scenarios that I've used throughout my career. I thought this was well done. And the first one wasn't just NCOs. The brigade commander and I, when I was a brigade sergeant major, we got all the leaders in a room and said, here's your authorities. And we went down,
That's
and
what we
here's what
need.
you can do for corrective. Here's what we expect you to do for corrective training. Here's what you should do when this, and it wasn't about the exact thing you would do in this situation, because sometimes they would say, oh, that's undue command influence. But just giving some examples of what to do, because a lot of times we tell people you can't do this and you can't do that, but we actually don't explain to them, what can you do? And that's what we did as a brigade command team. We said, here's your authorities for corrective training. Here's what here's an action that's probably going to be punishable under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And we had these open and honest discussions. We didn't talk a specific scenario, but we sit down and said, here's what we think, is an appropriate action at a certain time. And that gave them the tools on what to do. And then the second thing that I did was, as a brigade sergeant major, I took about 3 days and just said, here's the classes that I think we need to go over. And here's corrective training. Here's how I interpret the Army Command Policy, AR 600-20. Here's how I think you should do NCOER. So taking the time for due leader development and personal involvement into your NCO's authority. This is not somebody else's. NCO authority is our responsibility to teach it to our junior NCOs and what right looks like, and give them some left and right limits so that they understand where they can operate, and not just say, you can't do all this. Give them some tools on what they can do. And that's why it's important for our NCOs, first sergeants, battalion CSMs, and platoon sergeants to do that leader development. So we teach our NCOs what they can do instead of just saying, here's all the things you can't do.
Thank you for being here, SMA.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you to those watching online right now. Next month's topic of discussion will be financial literacy and readiness. And if you have any questions for the SMA or ideas for future episodes.
Okay, you guys. So that's what I wanted to cover today, man. The authority, NCO authority. That's one of the things that ties into how NCOs are the backbone of the Army. The authority that we have, right? Or the authority that we're supposed to have in the right environments. As you heard what Sergeant Major was saying about how he actually got all the leaders in a meeting together and told them what type of authority they have and what they can do. We, in a lot of times, a lot of situations, NCOs, I'm gonna say not all NCOs, but most NCOs, we don't know what we can and cannot do as far as corrective training. And that's what that type of thing that needs to be implemented more often and in leadership development. So let me know what you guys think about that video. Let me know what you guys think about that video, what you guys got from that video as far as NCO authority. But that's just one of the aspects of it. That's basically what I want to get at in this video, guys. I would say next, I forgot to remind you guys of the of the upload schedule. So I'm got a new upload schedule. I'm gonna be uploading Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Far as so that'll be the upload schedule. So you guys can be expecting a episode. Make sure you guys like the video, comment down below, share the video. And this has been another episode of Soulja Talk the podcast. And I see you guys in formation.